Namaskara, welcome everyone to day 2 of the 2022 edition of the Siddhendra Aradhana. If you were watching yesterday, you would have been witness to an incredible, inspiring series of performances, reflections, remembrances, and teachings on the theme of the Ashtavedanayikas, which is our theme for this year's festival. And as it was repeated multiple times yesterday, this is a journey that one cannot hope to complete in a mere 3 days, but it is the start of that journey which is important. And on that note, it is our honor to have with us today someone who has accomplished very notable milestones on that journey. Dr. Anupama Kylash is a senior practitioner of the Indian dance and an academic. She has a PhD in dance from the University of Hyderabad and has given over 1,000 performances and lecture demonstrations across 10 countries. She has over 60 paper presentations and workshops to her credit on various subjects ranging from aesthetics, poetics, itihasa, kavya, nataka, prabandha, vagyakara literature, and imagery in abhinaya. An author of 2 books on the works of the Telugu Pada poets, Annamacharya and Kshetraya. She is a recipient of scholarships and projects from the Department of Human Resource Development, Ministry of Culture, University Grants Commission, and the Central Sangeet Natak Academy. Anupama ji has founded the Anubhav Center for Performing Arts and Literature in the year 2000 and has conceived, curated, and presented many events under this banner, the most popular being the Thinking Cap series. She is currently serving as a professor for Kuchipudi dance in the University of Silicon Andhra, California, a guest faculty and member to the advisory board for the newly launched university, Rasa Rishi, affiliated to the Kannada University, Hampi. Good morning, ma'am. It is our honor to have you here with us today. Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
No, that's our pleasure, Anupama. It's wonderful to see you there, and then the works you do. And it's an honor for all the other participants or the people who are joining in to have an live interaction with you. And I'm just looking at the works you have done. That's amazing and commendable. I don't know how you do it. So this is, and again, thank you for accepting my invitation to be a part of Siddhendra Aradhana 2022 series 2. Last year we had, this year also we have a theme, Abhinaya, and Ashtavedanayikas to be more precise. But having you in our panel, I was just intrigued the way your works are like amazing in regards to Annamaya, the way you describe certain things in some of your works and all. So I just wanted to jump into the topic. When you talk about Annamaya, or when you think about Annamaya, what is the first thing you think about? I mean, in regards to the Nayika's perspective, the heroine perspective. So there's so many padams of his. So sometimes it's just hero oriented. Sometimes they're only heroine oriented. But from your perspective, what Annamaya has in his padams as a heroine aspect of it?
So if you ask me in couple of words, what I think when I think of Annamaya's Nayikas, I can only say 2 words. One, layered. They're extremely layered, the songs. The second word I can use is imagery. The imagery is exquisite. In fact, sometimes, we've been working a lot with Annamacharya's songs and with a lot of well-known teachers in the last 1 year. The main problem that all of them face when they have to choreograph to an Annamacharya, Kirtana is, they say, he has already said everything. What will we dance? Because the everything, the literature is so detailed.
Correct.
And it's so wordy. There is so much image already embedded within the literature.
Correct.
That people wonder, dancers feel, what can we add? If we simply dance what is already given in the literature, that itself will be a lot.
Correct. Correct.
So this is the first thing that comes to mind when you see Annamacharya's Nayikas vis-a-vis if you look at Kshetraya's Nayikas, or you look at Sarangapani's Nayikas, they are very, very different. Annamacharyas are so layered.
Right.
Yes, and there's so much imagery.
Okay, so let's take about like whatever your favorite padam. In favorite Annamaya Kirtana, in that one, when he describes, mostly his are on, of course, Lord Venkateshwara. How does, I mean, there are some which are on, Alvel Manga also, but
Right.
how does he describe or get Alvel Manga into, the whole scenario? Does he, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead. You complete the question. Yes.
Does he classify based on the avasthas or the Nayaka division? How does he classify it? I mean, I know there are so imaginary and they are so layered, but
yes,
I see when you talk about, suppose, what is that called? Alarulu Kuriyaga. So what he is describing Alvel Manga as a third party. He is
correct.
Thinking Alvel Manga, but it's not Alvel Manga thinking about herself. So how do we portray an Nayaka in there?
Okay, so with Annamacharya, I, when I was doing my PhD with Central University, and I used to work a lot with Kamishetti Master Garu, Kamishetti Srinivasulu Garu, who was the first director of the Annamacharya project in TTD. So he used a word for Annamaya's Nayikas. So he called them Jiva Nayikas. So he says Annamaya's Nayikas are living, breathing women who don't actually, just like any woman, like just like all of us,
right.
You cannot really slot them and put them into categories and say, okay, this woman, this Nayika belongs to this particular category, and that's it. So you cannot do that with Annamaya's Nayikas. They are volatile.
Correct.
So you have a number of Nayikas who are first person, who tell their own story, who talk, like, for example, there is, I've done many songs also, like, I'm not remembering them offhand, but, like, for example, Ekantamuloni Suddulu Ennadu Maravalenu. So she's telling her, Sakhi about this. Or she's saying, Talachina Dehamu Jallanu, Tananu Talachuno Talachado. So, these are all first person songs.
First person, okay.
So there are a number of first person songs. Then there are a number of songs which the Sakhi sings, describing Alamelu Manga. Then there are a number of songs in which you find, these imageries being brought out by the poet. This can be the Sakhi singing it. This can be Annamacharya himself, describing the beauty. For example, in one song, he says, Etuvanti mohamo inti nipai ataniki, tatukkuna uramuna dharinche ninnu. So he says, how enamored is this Lord of you, that, in 1 second, he has put you on his heart.
Correct.
And then the imageries unfold in such a magical manner. It says, he compares all the things, the acts that Swami does, Venkateshwara, whatever he does, he compares them to the beauty of Alamelu Manga. Like, for example, he says, Kamini ni nadapulu gajagamanamulani, Kaminchi ni pati karigachenu.
So that is again he describing Alavel Manga about what Venkateshwara Swami is thinking about her.
So he says, because you walk like a Gajagamini, or you walk like an elephant. That is why Swami went and rescued Gajendra, he says. Just because, your walk reminds him of that.
Right. So
he goes on in that manner. He says, Ni Kurulu, Neelamani, because your hair is blue-black.
Blue-black,
Neelavarnudaya Natadu, he says. He says he became Neelavarna because you have blue-black hair. So this is the kind of imagery you find, in these kind of songs.
Right. So can we describe a particular Nayaka in his padams, per se, like, let's say Parakiya Nayaka, or let's say Khandita, for that matter,
oh, yes.
Okay. Okay. So, but
oh yes, see, there are songs. It's interesting that the songs, there are many songs which fit into all the Naika Avastha categories, right from Swadhina Patika to Abhisarika.
right.
But you don't have one Naika, on one Naika Avastha, you will not find in Annamacharya. And that is Proshita Bhartruka. You will not find, because Annamacharya can never conceive of Swami leaving Tirumala and going anywhere. So you will.
Okay, you will not see Proshita Bhartruka. That's a wonderful, yeah.
You will never see a Proshita Bhartruka Naika Avastha. And this was something we had discussed, for a very long time. Myself, Master Garu, all of us, we were searching, because my thesis was on the Naikas of Annamacharya.
Right.
And we searched and we searched and we searched and we spoke to so many people. And then we finally, understood that we find all the avasthas except Proshita Bhartruka.
Proshita Bhartruka. Okay.
Because he cannot conceive of Swami actually going away from Tirumala or going out of town. So you have all the other Naika avasthas you find. Like, for example, you have Chelulala Idevone Chesinadi Bhagyamu.
Right.
Kalige Tana Karuna, Kadamalinketike. This is a pure Swadhina Patika.
Okay. Okay.
And then you have so many, songs which, like, for example, there is another song which I had done some time back. It says, Naramanuni Chudare, Nalinakshulara. So she's describing him, and she says, see how handsome he is, see how, how amazing my lover is. So this is again a beautiful Swadhina Patika.
Swadhina Patika. Yep. There's one, a viewer who's asking a question. What is the song that is being referred here? Satyavani, can you unmute yourself and talk to Anupama directly?
Yeah, yes, Satyavani asked me.
She is not unmuting. Satyavani, can you unmute? Okay. So she's asking, what is the song that is being referred?
But at which point? Because by now I've referred to about 6 or 7 songs.
This was when you were talking about Annamaya referring to Allamail Manga, I think.
Okay. So that song is, the Pallavi is Etuvanti Mohamo Inti Nipai Ataniki Tatukkuna Uramuna Dharinche Ninnu.
Right. Okay.
That is the song.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're talking that Proshita Bhartruka is the only one which you don't find in Annamaya Padams, and because he cannot conceive the thought of Swami leaving out of Tirumala and going somewhere. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. That's really intriguing to know a different scenario of Annamaya, I guess. So go ahead, Akka.
Yes. So if you're looking at the Naika Avasthas, so there are a number of songs like Vasaka Sajjika, for example. Right. There's a very beautiful song which says Eppudu Gani Rado Enta Tadavai Kali Chappudala Kinchi Madi Jalluranenamma. So this song has been beautifully composed by Guru Swapna Sundari's mother, Vakkalanka Sarala Garu. So she has also composed this musically this piece. In beautifully composed piece. So here we know that Vasaka Sajjika, the first stage, is all about decorating herself, decorating the bed chamber, and awaiting the arrival of the Lord. And there is a lot of reminiscence and there's a lot of anticipation there. So this is the first stage of the Vasaka Sajjika, where she's anxiously waiting, for his arrival. And you can see all the layers in the, in the song, and there is a lot of reminiscing where she remembers the last time they were together. So
can you demonstrate a bit?
Demonstrate. Actually, I'm not prepared for demonstration.
That's okay.
Because see, the problem is with Annamacharya, you don't know where to start. There is so much to discuss, and there are so many layers.
Yes.
So that's why I said, let's make it a lecture, because while we are discussing the beauty of the literature, demonstration will take a lot more, layering.
Yes.
We'll have to work on it, and it's not just one line doing a word-to-word meaning. Really doesn't make much sense.
No. And do we have like a book about, yeah, you told me that a book about, because Annamaya Padams, there is another dictionary for
Oh,
his,
yes.
yeah. So, and then it's not ever a straight meaning to a one sentence or a word. So
Never.
for people like us, when we want to select, how is there that dictionary available for all of us to,
Oh, yes, it is available with the TTD publications. It's called
Okay.
Annamaya Padakosham. It is by Sri Rava Srihari Garu.
Okay.
So he has compiled this compendium of words which Annamaya uses, which are difficult for us to understand. Because, even though it's Telugu, if you see
Right.
carefully, the more you go into the Shringara Sankirtanas of Annamacharya,
Right.
see, it is easy to understand, the Nama Sankirtanas. See, if you see a song like, say, Kandarpa Janaka, Garuda Gamana, these are words which we are familiar with.
Right. Yes.
But
yes.
the more you enter the world of Annamacharya's Shringara Sankirtanas, the more difficult it becomes for us to actually understand the words.
Words. Yes.
There are so many words. So sometimes, we used to wonder, is this Telugu? When we used to look at some of the words. But then we realized, there is so much influence of Dravidandhra, there is so much influence of Acha Telugu, then there are so many layers and so many usages in Annamacharya's songs.
Okay.
That it's very difficult for us to understand just like that when you read it for the first time. Can never understand.
So, if we select one song, can we just directly do the word-to-word meaning, which doesn't make a justification to his song? So, if we want to, improvise, or we want to do a little bit more, we need to refer to Annamaya, the dictionary, which you said.
So yeah, see, if the words are some words which you don't understand, like see, Annamacharya uses a lot of link words. For example, he will say, I have to think of it, offhand. So he will say, he will use a link word between one explanation and the other explanation. Now, sometimes what you think when you're doing Abhinaya, you think it's just a link word, we can just forget about it.
Correct.
And we can just take the general meaning of the entire line. But when you actually open the Padakosham and search for that link word, then you will realize that that link word is actually very important. It's actually very important for us to be able to bring out the exact meaning of what he's trying to say.
Correct. Okay.
So like, for example, he uses word like Tati. Now, Tati, it's very difficult to understand what exactly that means.
Right.
Tati talapo talu. So, that these are words which you don't find in the normal Telugu dictionaries. Right,
exactly.
So you will have to go to specific dictionary for Annamacharya. He's the only poet for whom you have a separate dictionary altogether.
Yeah, and I wish we had that available, online, so we don't have to.
You can check the TTD, their online, website, because all the Sankirtanas are there online. All the 29 volumes are there.
Oh, okay. That's
so maybe this also should be available, I'm thinking.
Okay. So, now coming to the Abhinaya aspect of it. So, what do you think is different in regards to Abhinaya of Annamaya Annamaya Padams and other Padams, say Kshetriya Padam, or Javalis or other poets, right?
Yeah, so Lakshmi's asked me what is Tati. So Tati means, something that is extreme or exaggerated. Basically, that's what it means. So Tati Talapotalu means when you think excessively. When you think excessively of him. So something like that.
That makes sense. Nice. Because in one of our lyrics, I have Geeta Tati.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's,
yeah. I see.
Beautiful.
Right.
Now I can connect. There's so many missing.
Oh, there are so many words. Yes, absolutely. Sorry,
Thank
Sudha,
you.
what did you say?
The difference.
The Abhinaya, Kshetriya, and the other poets.
Other poets.
So the first point here is that Annamacharya, the Pallavi declares everything. Now, this is the first difference between Annamacharya and Kshetriya. let's say Kshetraya and Annamacharya. Let's take these two poets. Okay, if you look at a Kshetraya Padam, he will say, Emi Setune Oyamma. Okay, suppose he says Emi Setune Oyamma. The Pallavi is not really telling you much.
Right, it's not.
Then the Anupallavi will say, Emi Setune Oyamma Mubba Gopaluni. Okay, so then it will also not declare much.
Yeah.
So what is this Emi Setune all about will become apparent only when you read the Charanams.
Charanam, correct.
But with Annamacharya, it's the opposite. Everything is declared in the Pallavi. The Charanams will keep enhancing the meaning of whatever is there in the Pallavi.
Okay.
Like, let's take, one Pallavi. For example, he'll say, let's take something which is very popular. Let's take Emako Chiguruta Dharamuna.
Right.
Okay, he will say Emako Chiguruta Dharamuna Eda Neda Kasturi Nindenu Bhamini Vibunaku Rasina Patrika Kadu Kada.
Right. So
now the entire content of what the theme of the song is becomes evident in the Pallavi. So this is the first difference.
But okay.
So there are songs like literally everything is declared in the Pallavi. Okay, like it's, for example, I'm trying to get one song which is it's not coming to my mind, but it's a beautiful example of how the Pallavi declares everything. It says Poina Cheli Radhaye Vidura Kantiki Dopadu Nimishambu Nokani. Okay, whatever. So it says, of the first phrase I'm not getting, the rest of it I'm getting. It says, Poina Cheli Radhaye Nidura Kantiki Dopadu Nimishambu Nokanedu.
Okay. Oh, Nimishambu Nokanedu. Okay, 1 year. One year.
So everything. She has sent a Sakhi. The Sakhi has not yet come back. That she's waiting for him. That the time is weighing very heavily on her. So everything is declared in the Pallavi.
Right.
Now, what happens in the Charanams then? What more is there to happen? Now the Charanams keeps increasing the imageries in the idea.
Right.
So if she's waiting, if the declaration in the Pallavi is that she's waiting, then he will describe the different ways in which she's waiting. What are the phases of waiting? What are the imageries? What is happening?
Okay.
There. So, it keeps expanding like a ghazal. If you look at a ghazal, I find there are a lot of, the ghazal kind of a technique of Annamacharya.
Right.
Where the fine imageries will keep emerging.
Correct. Okay.
Throughout the song.
Okay.
And which only when you go back to the Pallavi after each Charanam, you're just reiterating the same idea.
Same idea. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
So that is why the Abhinaya for Annamacharya becomes a big challenge.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. It's like, say for Kshetraya Padams, like for example, Mogudachi Piliche Poivottuna. That's like,
Sarangapani.
Yeah, it's Sarangapani, sorry. Yeah. And it's very clear. The Nayaka is very clear and then going and coming. But it's not the same with Annamaya. You have to little, go around it to find what exactly the Nayaka is trying to depict or what Nayaka it is. That's the, I think, half of the struggle.
Yeah, it's very difficult. See, with Annamacharya, you can't just fit it in. Yeah, this is a Virahot Kantita, this is a Kandita, it.
Right.
You know all that. Like for example, I'll also mention a few Kandita songs later.
Right.
Like for example, see, let me give you one example of a Virahot Kantita where the Sakhis are going to Swami and they are telling him about the extreme viraha that Alamil Manga is facing.
Right.
So they go to him and they say, Teliya devvarikini deva devesha, ee nelata bhavam bella neeverugu dikkanu. So they say, whatever she's feeling, only you will understand this.
Understand. Okay.
Now you look at the Charanam. Okay. Now see how difficult it will be to portray this. It says Niluchu. Now they're describing her actions. So Niluchu, Talayuchu, Kanniru Valika Golla Chinnuku, Nivveragapadu, Chintinchu, Ulakinchu, అలయు తలపోయి నిను చిత్తమున నిలుపు నంగన విధము నీ వెరుగుదికను.
So there's so many stages.
So literally all the Satvika bhavas
yes,
are coming in that.
Right.
And all the actions that she's doing, she's standing suddenly, then she's shaking her head, all the things that you do in Unmada,
right,
or
right.
in Vilapa or in Viraha, everything
Correct.
is coming out there.
Correct.
So it will become very ridiculous if you just keep doing the word to word.
Yeah, exactly. So we cannot do word to word. So for that, we need to understand the poet himself, and then probably the Nayika Avastha. So, but yeah, it is so intriguing and very difficult.
Very intriguing.
Yeah.
I can give you an example. Like, for example, since we're talking about the Abhinaya for Annamaya's Nayika, so
Right.
there is another, Viraha song where there's a lot of reminiscence. So she says, Talachina dehamu niluvadu, tananu talachuno talachado,
Right.
Valanuga cheli maatalu vini vattuno rado.
Okay.
Okay. So will he come? Will he come to me? Now, in this, when I was choreographing this piece, there is one section in the Charanam where she is remembering his actions. Okay. And she says, Annamacharya uses the term, he says, Uravadi diviyuchu. So,
yeah.
he says, there is a small drop of, musk that is slipping from her hair, and it's falling on her cheek because of the heat of love. So it's falling on her cheek. And Swami is so passionate about her that he comes with such force.
Right.
Okay. Uravadi diviyuchu kona gor udina chandamu. Now these two phrases let's look at for Abhinaya. Okay, if you look at it for Abhinaya,
right.
Uravadi diviyuchu means, Uravadi means lot of, with lot of agitation and aggression.
Right, right.
But the second phrase says, Kona goru udina chandamu. Kona udadam means just to blow very gently.
Yes, right.
Kada? So
yes.
Kona goru, a man who comes with such passion, Uravadi diviyuchu,
right.
but by the time he reaches her, he just flicks that drop with his fingernail, almost like a small breath, like a small blow.
Oh my God. Okay.
With the gentleness.
With the gentle.
The gentleness with which he does it.
Correct.
In contrast to the way he approached.
So it's like two different, stages we need to.
So, this is very difficult for us to get it. It's very difficult for us to get, because Uravadi diviyuchu, you may miss the whole connotation of Uravadi.
Correct.
Okay, Swami came and he flicked the drop with his finger. It's not that Swami just came. Swami came with a lot of aggression.
Correct.
But looking at Alamelu Manga and his love for her and her delicacy, he just, he was so gentle with her.
Right.
So, it's very difficult to, so, I mean, since I'm not really dancing, right? I mean, I'm not showing through dance, but I can tell you what I did for this. I wanted to bring out the contrast of these two ideas.
Right, right.
So basically, what I did was I used all metaphors here. I said he came like a, big wave, but, he's just lapping like a gentle, wave at her cheek.
Gentle wave. Oh, okay. So,
and I said he came like a whirlwind. He came like a whirlwind, but by the time he came to her cheek, it was just like a small breeze.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I used all images and, metaphors there. He came like a lion. He came like a lion, but by the time he came there, he was like a deer.
Oh, right. That's so nice. The way the contrast. Okay.
I think for Annamacharya, it calls for us to use layers like this, because otherwise there is nothing that you can do in that line,
right,
which is your own, your own, because he's already declared everything there.
Yeah, you cannot improvise more than what he has already given us there. So
if you want to improvise, then you have to use your mind. You have to use it. like when you say, Valanuga cheli maatalu vini vattuno rada, will he come or not?
Right.
So here what I did was, I mean, if you see the literal padartha, or even if you see the vakyartha, You can do it once or twice, 2-3 times. But if you want to do a multiple, imagery of this.
Yes.
So what I did was I used the concept of upachara. So you have all the upacharas, right?
Right.
So I used that idea. I said, the Sakhis are all going to him. So she calls each one by one, and she says, you will go and you will show darpanam to him, right?
Right.
So this is one upachara you will do. You will go and show the darpanam. So when you show the darpanam, tell him that, he has a better darpanam in my cheek. So he should come.
He should come. Oh, okay.
So I use different upacharas like this. I said, when you go and do deepam to him, tell him that, my eyes are like 2 lamps waiting on the path for him.
That is amazing. Okay.
So my thing with Annamacharya is that if you use your mind and use the multiple imageries that are available in the corpus, the whole corpus of literary thought.
Correct.
Only then you can really do justice to Annamacharya. I mean, you can add a layer. You can add a layer and not just keep doing word to word meaning.
Right. Yes.
No?
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. Of course, people may say, why should we do all this? We can just do the literal meaning and also get a lot of beauty. I agree to that also. You can.
But whatever he has given, we are just depicting what the Padardha Vinaya. But if you want to go a little deeper, then probably we need to
with
think.
Annamacharya, it's difficult unless you use your mind and you use layers. Because there is so much lyric. It's so wordy.
Right, exactly.
That's, it's easy to do Emi Setune Oyamma, you can do it in multiple ways because that is an ambiguous statement and you can interpret it however you want.
Right.
But with Annamacharya, while there is a lot of abstraction, there is no ambiguity.
Right, correct.
He declares everything he declares.
And there is no per se an episode or a storyline to it. It's all like, so for example, if you look at Ramadasu, Kirtanas, like for example, what is that? Paluke Bangaramayane. So we can actually look at or think of an episode around it.
Right.
Yeah, but
with
for
Annamacharya,
with
Annamacharya also you can, but for a different. See, the problem with Annamacharya is there are so many songs.
Padams, so
there are 13,500 songs available. 29 volumes are there of 500 songs each. And in that you have over 13 or 14 categories of songs that he has written.
Okay.
So if you look at a song like Vande Vasudevam, or you look at a song like, Namo Namo Raghukula Nayaka,
yes,
then you can do a lot of episodes in this.
Correct. And depends on what, correct.
What the composition is.
Yes. What the composition.
But when you look at the Sringara Sankirtanas, there is less scope for storytelling and there is more scope for imagery.
Yes.
Some have scope for storytelling also. But it's also very layered. Like, for example, he connects the Dashawataras to Sringara.
Dasataras to Sringara.
Yeah, there are 3-4 songs like that in Annamacharya, where for example, there is one song called Dashavidha Charanam. It has 10 charanams actually. The song, the first 2 lines of every charanam will have the avatara description, and the second 2 lines of every charanam will have the Sringara connotation.
Oh, okay.
So like it will say, for example, he tore open the Hiranyakashipa, with his nails. But now those nails will make crescent marks on your, chest.
Oh.
So he will give you a Sringara connotation to it.
Okay, so for as a choreographer, can we use, which aspect should we use for that kind of padam?
So that is where the discretion has to be made, because if it is a Sringara Sankirtana,
correct,
and it's not a Nama Sankirtana, or it's not a Namavali, or it's not an Adhyatma Sankirtana, then obviously, if it was me doing it, the stress would be on the Sringara aspect.
Correct.
But there you also have the scope to bring in subtly the story of the Avatara, correct. But it has to be manipulated so that you can give space for the Sringara element to enter.
Okay. So
it has to be manipulated like that.
Okay. Okay, but it is, I think it's very difficult to do. I mean, like to give, at least I'm not able to frame a picture for now, giving a avatara and moving it to Sringara,
Very difficult. See, for example, there's a Ninda Stuti. She's a Khandita there, and she says, Mato netiki, why are you arguing with me? Nenu Maguvanante, I'm only a woman, gada. She says, Nenu Maguvanante, Nee Chetalanni Edanaina Chupavaya, she says.
Oh, okay.
Now, in this, it's a complete Dashavatara connotation. So she says, Jaladi Ide Chota, Shailamu Mose Chota, Jaladi Idadam. Ante Matsyavatara.
Yeah, Matsya. Shailamu is like,
Shailamu Mose Chota is the thing. So, and she says, when you dig the ground. So this is the Varahavatara. Now, this is a very sarcastic connotation to the Dashavatara. Now, great acts that he has committed, she's reducing them to swimming, to digging, to carrying weights.
It's like, yeah, it is. So, because the Dashavatara itself is a huge, big, amazing act which he did. And now here Khandita, she's like, Ninda Stuti. How do we show that? I mean, do we show?
So this is where the challenge of Annamacharya comes, because first of all, half of his Dashavatara songs, he doesn't declare the name of the avatara. He will indicate it. So, Uma auntie, my teacher, in Kuchipudi, she used to call him Quizmaster. She used to say Annamacharya is a Quizmaster because, he'll give you some leads and you have to arrive at the answer. So, I mean, how do you know? Like, for example, there's another song. Ammamma Emamma Alamelu Manga Nancharamma.
Right.
Now,
yes,
in that song, also there is all Dashavatara connotation, but half the people don't realize that it's Dashavatara.
Oh.
Because there also he refers to, he says Neela Kinda, he blossomed antadu.
Oh, okay. Which is,
or he says, he refers to the nails. Or he refers to, so there are so many, it's complete Dashavatara connotation.
Little, okay. Okay, so that's what you meant by layers. That's
the layers. So it's very, nowhere has he mentioned the word Matsya, Kurma, Vara. He will not mention.
Okay.
I think Dolayam or one or two Adhyatma Sankirtanas, only place where he'll actually say the words.
Right, yes.
He will never say Matsya, Kurma, Vara. He will never say. He will always indicate through some, explanation or something, and we have to struggle and we have to arrive at it. That is the thing with Annamacharya's Shringar Sankirtanas.
Yeah, very, very, I mean, the very concept, which I just learned today with you, that, you have Dashavatara connotations with Sringara. That's something which I need to explore and take some more lessons from you later on.
Sure.
But yeah, it is a very interesting to know. And it's a whole big world of Annamaya, wherein Abhinaya itself is one huge big ocean, and and we are connecting two oceans together, I guess, Annamaya Padam.
Totally. See, that is why I had started, the Annamaya Abhinayam workshops. I'm not able to do too many because it's very, mind-racking also to create the pieces. It's very difficult to do them. But, it's a kind of an Abhinaya which you can't just cursorily, you can't just skim over it like that.
Correct.
Every line has to be multiple times, you have to think, ruminate, and, bring in so many connotations. Like one Annamaya Padabhinayam workshop, which I did one very interesting song where again a Virahat Kantita is being described by the Saki. Okay. And this song has so many references to Puranic stories. It has multiple references to mythology also.
Right. Okay.
So some of the stories you don't even know.
Yeah.
Some of the stories we don't even know. So the Saki is actually, she's making fun of Madana and all his attendants. And she's saying, what do you think? I mean, just because our lady is in Viraha and she's in a state of weakness and Swami is not here, you think you can come with all your attendants and play your games. And then each one she addresses and she makes fun. So she looks at the parrot and she says, that day when you cursed Rama, that day itself, I should have realized what kind of a fellow you are.
Oh.
So I had to struggle to find where is this story.
Yeah, curse Rama.
The parrot cursing, the parrot cursing Rama, parrot cursing Sita. What is the story? Then finally I realized that it's a story from Padma Puranam. Okay, where there is a small sub story in that when Sita, when she was very young,
right,
like she was in the garden, and there are these two parrots, Janta. They were both, the parrots are there, and Sita was, these parrots were talking amongst themselves and saying that, Sita is going to get married to this wonderful prince called Rama.
Right. Okay.
Sita is very young and she's very impulsive, and she gets very excited, and she tells them, oh, if that is the case, then why don't you both live in my palace till my marriage happens?
Marriages happen. Okay.
Okay. So the male parrot says that, no, my wife is pregnant, so I don't think we want to live here. But she becomes very insistent, and she says, she forces her Sakhis to bring the female parrot into the palace. Okay. And then there is something which says that the male parrot curses her and says that, you separated me from my wife when she's pregnant, so you will also get separated from your husband when you're pregnant.
Okay. Wow. The link. Okay.
So that is the, so I didn't know that such a story even existed. Because it's not there in the Ramayana, it's not there in the Valmiki Ramayana, it's not there anywhere. So somewhere in Padma Puran, some story he is referring to suddenly.
Annamaya. Oh my God. Okay.
And then he refers to the Rahu, swallowing the moon. He refers to that story in the beginning. So he says, at that time when, your moonlight was completely diminished.
Right.
So she's talking to the moon, and she says, your moonlight was completely diminished because you have all the scratch marks of Rahu, trying to swallow you and eat you. So now, because your light is diminished, now you are attacking my lady,
right,
because you want to steal all her luster.
Sure.
Okay. So see the complexity with which he creates his imagery.
Right. Yeah. So in Annamaya Padams, is there any specific song on Sita?
There is. There is one song which I had performed, as a part of a production actually.
Okay.
This song is where Sita is sitting in Ashokavanam and Hanuman comes. Okay. And so it's a complete first person, Sita song. So you know that you don't know, Hanuman is not referred to, but she's talking to him. I think the word Hanumanta comes somewhere in the song also. So she says, ekkadi maya mrugamu elatemmanti nenu.
Oh, okay.
So she's telling him, she says, what is this maya mrugam? How can I be such a fool?
Right.
How did I think that there can be something called a golden deer? I mean, and then she says, ekkadi maya mrugamu elatemmanti nenu ituvale navallane aparadha manumi. Go and tell him that this is my mistake, whatever has happened.
Okay. So so she's asking Hanuma to go and tell him this is what is. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
So she's telling him that, and then she goes on to say, she says, how is he? Does he eat? Does he drink? Does he sleep well? What is happening with him? And she says, whatever you say, is it true? Is it true that he's going to come?
Oh, okay.
So this is the one song I found. And there are many songs of Rama.
Yes, there are many songs of Rama. In any literature, I found very little or very few songs on Sita herself. But that was why interesting to know why no poet has addressed Sita's.
There are many. See, in Telugu, you do have a few, but like Adhyatma Ramayana, you do have some songs. But you have a lot of Sita references in Tamil literature.
Okay.
Also, there are many songs where Sita's first person, what Sita wants to do, even the point where she wants to commit suicide. At one point, there's one point there.
Yes.
So all these, there are many in Kamba Ramayanam. There are many references to Sita.
Okay.
There are multiple songs on Sita also.
So to which Nike does Sita come under? I mean, like, is there any?
So, see, for this we need to understand the concept of Naika actually.
Naika.
So, if you look at a Naika avastha,
Right.
Any avastha can apply to anybody.
Anyone, yes, yeah.
Anyone.
That's why I
but
didn't
you know,
ask.
but when you look at the itihasas, like when you look at heroines like Sita, Draupadi, or any of them, I don't think this comes under a Naika idea.
Okay.
Naika is basically a Shringara idea.
Yes, exactly.
It is not. It's got nothing to do with mythological protagonists.
Okay.
Yeah, Sita can experience Naika avasthas.
Right.
And if you have to classify her, you can call her a Sriya Naika because she's a legally wedded wife of Rama.
Right.
But the Itihasa characters actually are not Naikas. Naika is not a woman. It is not an Itihasa character. Naika is a concept.
Correct. Yeah.
Naika is an idea. Basically, Naika is a structural idea.
Right.
How you would enhance the beauty of literature through the Naika and through the Nayaka.
Okay.
These are concepts. These are not really people.
No, yes. That's a concept, right? So
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
So if you say Draupadi or if you say Sita, you can't really call them Naikas.
No, they're
Naika is a word that was coined for poetics, for Alankara Shastra, to depict the idea of a Shringara relationship between the masculine and the feminine.
Okay.
From the point of view of literature. It is poetic. It's a poetics connotation.
Right. Yes.
So the Itihasa idea doesn't fit into it at all.
Okay. Yeah. So it depends on what kind of song we take, that particular avastha, we can, relate it to that. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were asking some questions, Satyavani. You wanted to unmute and ask if.
Sure. So Anupama, I'm really enjoying this. And the question I had was the song that you're referring to, where, Alamelumanga has the gait of an elephant, which is why. Yeah. So is that a popular song or?
No. None of the songs I've referred to is a popular song.
So could we find that, or could you give us the name? So.
It's there in my book actually. So
okay.
If it says Etuvanti Mohamo Intini Pai Ataniki. So it starts like that, and it's part of my work also. It's not a Naika avastha, but I have some songs in my book which in the later section which talk about the these imageries in Annamacharya's songs, or the subtle depiction of Sringara and all these elements. So
could you put a link to that book? Is that,
So that book it's a physical copy. You'll have to buy a physical copy.
Okay.
Of the book. So yeah.
But can you still put the link? I will buy a physical copy.
Yeah, it's called Nayikas of Annamacharya by Dr. Anupama Kylash. That's all. It should be available. I don't know if it's available. It's available on a website called Exotic India. Mm-hmm. But it should be available on the University of Silicon Andhra. They also have copies.
Okay,
of the book. Since you are a student, you will probably be able to access a copy there.
Sure, thank you. I had another question for you too. So with Annamacharya, did he have any poems that were, we know him as a Sringara poet, right? But did he have any that were based on the childhood pranks, that are not in popular, like not in the popular stream
of Krishna, is it?
Of anyone, Krishna, Rama, any of the.
Yeah, there are many songs. There are many songs where he talks about Krishna's pranks. So with Annamacharya, you have different categories. So in the Rupa Leela Varnana sections, you have all these kind of songs, where Itti Mudduladi Baludeda Vade. So that song. It talks about all his things. He says, Kagedi Vennelalona, Cheyi Petti, Cheyi Nochenani,
Yes.
Kanniru Gara. So these are all songs which talk about Krishna's childish pranks. And then there are so many, Shravana Bahulashtami Inadu. He talks about, the birth of Krishna, the growth, the childhood, deeds of Krishna. So there are many. I mean, basically, childhood pranks are primarily Krishna oriented. What he has with Rama, you don't have much. All his Rama songs are either heroism. They concentrate on the heroic idea, or they concentrate on, a few of them concentrate on the love idea. A few of them, like, there is one song where Rama is talking to Lakshmana, and he's saying, he's in separation from Sita. So he says, I think I spy her, I think I see her. And everything he sees in nature, it reminds him of Sita. And then Lakshmana has to keep dissuading him and saying, no, that is not a hair, that's a cloud. So that's how it goes. So Rama,
what is the name of that song? Is that in your book too?
I have to remember. No, that's not in my book. So I have to remember it offhand. I don't remember the Pallavi offhand. I'll let you know.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful conversation. And then if you can give us those links wherein we can go and find out all of those, and I'll
can't find them. See, the problem is they're all there in those 29 volumes. But with Annamacharya, the problem is looking at all those 29 volumes is very tough. Yes. Yeah, let me see if I can identify from where I found the song. Then, luckily, his songs, his books, all the 29 volumes has an index at the back.
Okay.
So at least if you know the opening line, you can even search, in the index for the song. But even then, it's a very laborious task, because 29 volumes you have to search. You don't know where exactly it could be.
And you said they're all available online also, right?
They're available. Yeah. All of them are available. I think it's called Tirumala.org or something like that.
Okay. So, I'll post all of that.
They have their lot of it. All of them are available.
Okay. That's wonderful. And the book which you have written, those are available at Silicon Andhra Library to buy.
That is for the students. That's for the students. But for others, it's available in this website called Exotic India.
Okay. And to purchase, correct?
To purchase, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So we will go and refer to that, because there's a lot of things which we would want to ask, but with the timing limitations and all, we can add. But exactly. What is your experience learning this Abhinaya aspect from when you started till now? I mean, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. So how do you derive to one conclusion, or when it comes to Abhinaya?
So see, when I actually, to be very honest, it is Uma Aunty who has introduced me to Annamacharya primarily. Because she used to do a lot of Annamacharya Kirtanas. She used to choreograph a lot of them, and some of them were very rare also, unknown songs. Like when I did my Ranga Pravesham, when I was about 17 and a half, 17.
Oh, wow.
So at that time, she saw my interest in literature, and she said, why don't you do a Shingar Sankirtana? So, that was my first. I did, MS Subbalakshmi, she sang that. Kaladinte Mata Kantuni Ata. Telusuko Nilo Nidiye Puta Puta. So that was the first song I did. First Shingar Sankirtana I had done, at the age of 16 and a half.
Oh, wow.
So, so from the way she handled it, it was a very, Kuchipudi-esque methodology, where there's a lot of, movement, and there's a lot of body movement. There's a lot of kuluku, and there's a lot of the, that section of the Abhinaya. So that I learned, from her, how to handle it for Kuchipudi. But then, as I started training with Swapna Sundari ji and, in Vilasini Natyam, and then, the Abhinaya aspect became more and more streamlined. It became more and more concentrated.
Correct.
And the Devadasi tradition, it's not storytelling. It's imagery based. Imagery based. So somehow for me, that methodology fit perfectly for Annamacharya. Because with Annamacharya also, I'm exploring layers of, imageries.
Right.
So it kind of fit it. So while, I enjoyed doing it in Kuchipudi also, the intensity of the Abhinaya started varying, with my training in Vilasinatyam. So because of that, my ideas started becoming more and more fine-tuned towards image, metaphor, simile, paradox, all this.
All of that. Okay.
So that was an interesting journey. We are still on that journey because we are nowhere near, come to the end of it.
No, there is no end to it, for sure.
With every song, you discover something new, and then you feel okay. And when you revisit a song you did, like if I today revisit a song I did last year, I feel, there weren't enough imageries, or, it wasn't really handled the way I would have liked to handle it today.
Okay.
And that's the thing when I listen to my old recordings, because when I recorded for my, first my production for my book release,
right.
When I recorded this, I had a production called Jeevanaika. I based it on Master Garu's word.
Okay.
Thing.
Okay.
And in that I had a complete recording of all the Annamacharya's Naikas, in different shades. So I had done this as a complete production.
Do you have that production available for us to see?
The whole production is not available. Only the promo of the production is there. So I can send you the link of that. It's a 4-minute promo. I'll send you that. But when I did
that, aired sometime ago?
No, this is a live. It was part of my book release ceremony.
Okay.
So it is not online. So I just did that, and now when I go back and visit the recordings,
right.
Some of them, for example, the Virahot Kantita song that I did, I find it so fast now. I'm like, this is too fast. How did I do it like this? So I crave for it to be leisurely, for me to be able to do it, more, draw it out a little more. So we keep changing.
Yeah.
And with us, our Abhinaya also keeps changing continuously.
Right. It does. But it's interesting to know, Akka. It is really interesting to know the differences between the poets in regards to the Abhinaya, and then how Annamaya has his own layers and his own way of showing Abhinaya, or per se Naikas in his padams. So it's very interesting. And this whole topic is so intense that just 1 hour or 1.5 hours doesn't cut it at all. I mean, I can't make justice to this particular topic at all. So we have to have, as I said, we have to have a workshop of 1 month long. So which you are, I guess, you are so busy that you're doing the Tamrapatra. That's like one thing which is really very interesting to know. And then whenever we are free, then, well, free is an understatement for you. We can probably think about doing a workshop in all of these Nayakas in regards to the Annamaya.
Sure. I mean, I'd love to explore them, through visual, because that is the most challenging part of the whole thing. How do you convert the literature into the visual or into movement? So that is, of course, the most challenging thing with Annamacharya.
Correct. So I believe you have trained in Bharatanatyam also, correct?
Yeah, initially, my initial training was Bharatanatyam, yes.
So you have learned Vilasini Natyam, Kuchipudi, Bharatanatyam. How do you differentiate Annamaya Padams in these 3 different, art forms per se? Like,
see, Bharatanatyam, they haven't really, there's not much of Annamacharya danced in Bharatanatyam. Correct. Except for, the very popular pieces like Sriman Narayana or Bhavayami Gopala Balam.
But
so this kind of, of course, you can see in Tamrapatra, we are having practitioners of Mohiniyattam, Odissi, Bharatanatyam, and so many styles who are, working on it. And it's beautiful, the way they are coming up with ideas and, what's happening. So definitely, see, my whole intention of doing Annamaya Padabhinayam workshops was to include Annamacharya as a part of Abhinaya repertoire in Southern Indian classical dance forms. The way Kshetraya is a popular Pada poet for Bharatanatyam, I wanted Annamacharya to be included like that.
Right. No, I agree.
And now more and more people are doing, many young dancers, Bharatanatyam dancers.
Right.
I've seen so many online events where many of them are actually now dancing the pieces that I've taught them.
No, I myself am guilty about that. So I did take a couple of them after the that first series of Annamaya through Silicon Andhra.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that one. I took a couple of them and started, taking your guidelines and
Yes.
choreography. That was really
Of
interesting.
course, that is what it's meant for. That's
Yeah,
what it's meant for. That teachers have to take it up.
correct.
And when I did my Annamaya Padabhinayam workshops also, so many, actually 90% was Bharatanatyam dancers who attended.
Ah,
And
okay.
all of them, many of them have danced my choreographies in
Choreography.
various festivals.
Okay.
So it's now Annamacharya is becoming popular, as a great possibility for Abhinaya, for all styles.
It is. So, and thanks to you, we are all exploring that option also. And the songs availability is one big challenge. And now we are getting those through Silikanandra, which is thanks to you and
Yes.
the Silikanandra people, Sampada, which has this initiative of getting them. So, but yeah, it is really, really appreciative of those things. And then, what was I lost my chain of thought. I'm sorry.
No problem. Annamacharya does that to you.
So, coming back to, so what is your favorite Naika?
Well, actually, I don't really have one favorite Naika because, each one has their own thing. But, I have, of course, we all love Kandita because we all love to be angry and, we love to,
that is the very
we
famous
love to
Naika.
tick off the Nayaka. We all like to do that. But, I'm especially intrigued with the Abhisarikas. Abhisarika of Annamacharya especially. I'm going to do a workshop on it actually. On between the 18th and the 20th of March, I'm doing a workshop only on the Abhisarika. And comparing Annamacharya's Abhisarika and Kshetraya's Abhisarika.
Oh, that's
so. This was something I actually was asked to do a 10-15 minute paper presentation. For the MGR Janaki College in Chennai. So they had an international conference, and they had asked me to do this. And I've been thinking, from a long time that I wanted to work on the Abhisarika.
Okay.
And I suggested to them, and they said okay. So I did this short 10-15 minute paper. But I've been thinking so much about it that when a certain organization approached me, I suggested. So we are doing a 3-day workshop on just the Abhisarika.
We need the link so we can.
I will definitely send you that. So the thing is, the Abhisarika of Annamacharya intrigues me a lot because it has an intensely philosophical connotation inside the Shringara.
Okay.
Within the Shringara, because Abhisarika is one Naika, I feel, that comes very close to the Tattva idea also, because for example, he says in a certain Abhisarika, which I have described in my book also, the Naika says, Kundalalo Kovila Kuyya, Gunde Pagile, Ni Andakuraga, Pranamantalo Nilichera. So this is an Abhisarika who's telling her lover that, so it's all in retrospect. It's all in retrospect. So here, it's very easy for us to miss the whole connotation.
Correct.
Kundalalo Kovila Kuya. Now, Kovila, the cuckoo,
right,
it will coo on the treetop.
Yeah.
Why will it coo on the mountaintop?
Mountaintop. Yes, I was about to ask.
So this is a reference to Venkateshwara.
Oh.
So he is being called the Koila.
Koila. Okay.
The jet black cuckoo is being referred to as the jet black Venkateshwara.
Okay.
So when she says Kondalelo Kovila Kuyya, basically what she's saying is, I got the call from the hill. When Swami called out to me, I couldn't control myself, and then I went. And only when I came to you, I was able to breathe. So this is almost, on the level of, what a seeker would go for spiritual attainment.
Okay.
So the Abhisarika is a Naika which I always find overlaps the Tattva and the Shringara both. I find that very interesting to bring the idea out, because there are so many. She goes, there are obstacles in her path.
Correct. Correct.
So when you look at the Dashakama Avasthas and you look at the 10 obstacles to sadhana, you know, if you look at the text and you see, they're identical.
Right, they are.
So tapa or viraha is the same as tapa or penance.
Oh.
They have the same root word. Tapa and tapa, both
Tapa.
of them.
Yeah, tapa
is
is
the same.
right.
Tapa is penance, tapa is, you know, viraha.
Viraha. Oh.
But you see, there is just one akshara, you know, elongated akshara difference between the two.
Ta, double A, yeah. Yes.
That's the only difference. So basically the same path that you have on tapa, you have the exact same path when you're on penance, on tapa.
Tapa, okay.
This becomes very evident when you take a Nayika like Abhisarika, because it talks about, you know, cutting attachment, leaving everything and going to your lover, going to your Lord.
Okay.
Which is exactly what, you know, tattva or philosophy also talks about.
Yeah, I was about, yes, true. So see, yeah, that gives, so we have to think beyond what the worldly things are, like when it comes to Annamaya, what he's trying to say.
Of course.
What is it trying to say?
Many of the Shringara, many of the extremely dense Shringara Sankirtanas are actually deeply philosophical.
Correct.
Many of them.
Right. And that needs to be understood by the audience or general public.
Absolutely.
Now, that comes to our conclusion, Akka. And thank you so much for this, you know, enlightening lecture and a little demonstration of everything. All our viewers would agree. And we would like to see more.
I didn't really demonstrate anything, but that takes, you know, it will take more time. It will take more, you know, planning.
Again,
so, yeah, we'll do that.
Hopefully next year we'll plan a workshop with you for about a week long before the actual festival starts, and then we can have you in person here, and we'll have all of our viewers, you know, participating in that. So, but thank you so much for taking your time and, you know, and giving us this opportunity to talk to you about all of the things which we wanted to know about Annamaya. Well, not all, but at least few, which give us some kind of enlightenment towards it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been great talking. I mean, this is of course my favorite topic. I can talk till the cows come home, but you know, so yeah, it's been great. I enjoy talking about Annamacharya always, and thanks for, you know, having me here.
No, it's always my pleasure, and thank you so much. Lakshmi Babu says thank you also.
Thanks, Lakshmi. Thanks, Satyavani. Thank you, everyone, for being here. You know, whoever is watching live from wherever. So
yes, they are. So thank you so much, and we appreciate it. Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.